like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 42 of the Ball Talk Pod. Here tonight to recap the Thunder's Game 1 win in the 2025 Western Conference Finals over the Minnesota Timberwolves by a score of 114-88. I got Chris back with me tonight. He's standing a little taller, a little stronger.
A little straighter.
How we feeling, Chris? How we feeling?
You know, all I want to say is 7 more games. We got to win 7 more games to hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the season. That's all we have to do. We passed that big first hurdle and winning, game, whatever this was, the first game of the Western Conference Finals. Feels good, but there's still a lot more to play.
9 down, 7 to go.
That's right.
It felt, I don't know how you felt going into this game. One, I very much appreciated the reset of the nerves after going through the Nuggets series. And there's a lack of distress watching a game one. And I think even the crowd kind of felt that tonight. Like, it took a little bit for the crowd to get into it. Obviously, we'll talk about why that might be with what we were seeing on the court. But just like it felt like a game one. And it felt more so like a regular season game.
I felt the same way. It did. It felt like regular basketball after watching, Jokic is going to do what Jokic is going to do, and you're just stressed about that. This felt like a regular season game in a good way, where it was just like, let's watch some regular basketball. The floor was spaced so much better. It was more up and down. You felt like there was more Thunder style play going on, which I really, really enjoyed tonight. Well, we won, so that's helpful. But
it helped a lot, and it was a stress-free win, especially in the fourth quarter. To start this game, one, it's kind of funny to see like Stephen A. Smith and Bob Myers and Kendrick Perkins. They were doing their pregame show on the court. It was weird because Chet did like a pregame interview during layup lines.
I saw that.
I hadn't seen that before, which obviously it worked out fine, but that was interesting. And then it's pretty freaking cool. Ben Rector did the national anthem tonight.
Yeah, I have a problem, maybe not with Ben Rector, but with the halftime show. It was a little bit of the same. They probably should have switched, but the halftime show was another guy from Norman who was just like an aspiring artist, I'm assuming. But it kind of felt like he tried the Seven Nation Army to like finish it off, but his first song was like really slow and quiet.
It was an original,
sort of like,
for sure. Yeah.
It was sort of like the crowd was just like falling asleep a little bit, but that's to say it all worked out in the end. Ben Rector was amazing. He brought out a little piano and played it all really
I texted another buddy that was at the game. I texted him and I said, I mean this in the like biggest compliment way possible. He sounded exactly like I thought Ben Rector would sound singing the national anthem. So there's your national anthem recap. But game tips off. You were like, okay, this team just got out of a 7-game series and they forgot how to play offense again. Shots weren't falling. Wolves came out on an 8-0 run right off the bat. Jaden McDaniels hit a 3 and a step back 2 immediately. I thought it was interesting. We started with the double big, which we said it on our preview
feels a
pod,
little bit like a holdover from the Nuggets series.
Well, I just don't. It's like that's our base. Like that's what we do, and so it's if I don't have the minutes line distribution of minutes in terms of lineups in front of me, but we didn't go double big much the rest of the night.
No.
It was sporadic. Every once in a while we would.
And there was lots of minutes we played without a big, which I thought were really impactful.
The big was Mr. Kenrich Williams. That's who the big was. Spoiling the third quarter. But Rudy Gobert picked up 2 fouls in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he I don't even remember, he played, and this is me being dramatic. I don't remember him playing the rest of the game. Is the level of impact that I thought he had.
He had 2 points, 3 rebounds.
And he's 7'4" or 7'5".
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big hulking space. He's a great rim protector, but you didn't feel that tonight. The person you felt the most was Julius Randle.
In the first half specifically, he was 5 of 6 from 3-pointers in the
He set a
first half.
playoff career high for threes in a game early in the second quarter.
And you thought it was going to be like kind of his night. And it felt like at halftime, after that sluggish start, sluggish scoring, whatever you want to call it, it felt so impossible that the Thunder were only down 4. I was like,
well, it felt impossible. We were down 3 after 1. Impossible. We were down 4. Then the really boring halftime show, and it was like, this is just a weird night.
yes.
Like, it just felt weird.
Good thing the Thunder didn't watch that halftime show. Not to say he wasn't good, but it just felt
The vibe wasn't there. It didn't match the vibe. But the second quarter they came back, and I think one thing to note, and it feels like it's kind of one of the bigger themes of the playoffs for teams that win and teams that don't, and games the Thunder have lost. It's been on the other side, is closing quarters and halves, and it felt like we were down 9 with like 40 seconds left, 48 seconds I think left in the second quarter, going into halftime. We go on a 5-0 spurt. Being down 4 feels a lot better than being down 9. And the Thunder come out in the second half. Dub hits a 3 to cut it to 1. They kind of played within, tied in a 1-point lead for each team for the next couple minutes. And then we go on a little spurt. Dub played great in this spurt. And from there, the Thunder rolled. And it felt like watching the 68-win Thunder in that second half, which was so refreshing. Refreshing to see.
That run to end, like you're talking about the second half, or the second quarter, when J-Dub stole the ball from Julius Randle. Julius Randle's like pounding the air out of the ball, just like, bah, I'm gonna dribble past you. I'm gonna go score this with 30 seconds left. And he's like, I'm gonna pound this ball into the earth and go score, because he's been doing it pretty much all that second quarter. And Jalen Williams is like, he's not even looking at anybody. I'm going to come steal the ball. He missed the layup, but Isaiah Joe got the rebound.
Joe got fouled, yeah.
Then we ended up making 2 free throws, and we were down by 4. I feel like that shut off the tap to Julius Randle. He was a waterfall. He was just your faucet. How when kids play outside, they turn on a faucet and they just never turn it off. It felt like Jalen Williams went over and just yanked that faucet closed. So really great into the half, like you're talking about, that spurs our Thunder to play Thunder basketball in the second half.
And, a story of the first half, Ant got hurt he got fouled before, but Caruso was going to take a charge and he landed weird on his ankle. He hurt his ankle in the Warriors series, came back in that game and played, and obviously they've had time off, and he wasn't even on the injury report going into this, so nothing of concern coming into this game. But he was in the locker room for probably 6 to 8 minutes of the second quarter, came back in, and I don't think he looked different. I mean, he hit some bigger shots, he hit some threes in the second quarter or second half that kind of kept them in it longer than it felt like they should have been. I think, we talked about Julius Randle. He had 20 points at halftime. He's outscored Shea, Dub, and Chet in the first half. And again, it goes back to, if you told me that was reality, there was no chance we were only down 4. I was sitting with a couple buddies, Nader and Barrett, and it was like, we should be down 20. How are we not down 20? And for that to be reality of Randall outscoring our big 3 and being down 4, and it didn't feel like we were, our process wasn't just terrible, but we weren't getting good looks. I don't even know how to comprehend how uncomfortable and just weird the offensive side of the ball felt in the first half. And halftime could not have come at a better time. Like I said, cut it to 4, find a way to get to halftime in a way that is, you're 2 possessions away from taking the lead. And it was a completely different Shea in the second half. Chet played, Chet was non-existent in that first half to me. He missed 2 free throws to start the game, or at least his first attempt. He missed a couple layups, a couple bunnies. And then he just was like, no, I'm just going to out effort everybody. And that's like the calling card of the Thunder to end up with 15 points, 7 rebounds. He had 2 blocks and a steal. I thought he was huge. Dub had 19. He kind of exploded in the third quarter. And I mean, this stat line by Dub, they say like a 5x5 is a just a astronomical feat in the NBA, which is at least 5 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks. And Dub had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals.
Yeah, he was a monster.
No blocks. No blocks. So he didn't get it. But he's starting to have those games where he's stuffing the stat sheet. Like he's getting 7 or 8 rebounds. He's getting at least, 7+ assists. And it goes back into like, even when he's not scoring like we all want him to, because when he's scoring, this team is incredibly hard to beat. But when he's not, he does so much that this team is still incredibly hard to beat.
He's really turned it on, like you talked about, especially as a player that everyone hoped would take this leap into stardom coming into this playoffs. It's so refreshing and nice to see it come true and not be like, I wish Jada was here. But you look down, like you talked about, he is like filling the stat sheet like a fat man fills his tray at a buffet. He's just doing everything.
J-Dub's at Golden Corral, baby. He's at Golden Corral.
J-Dub's Golden Corral. He's got everything. He's got steals. He's got assists. He's got rebounds, points. Didn't shoot, that many threes. Yeah, we didn't shoot that many threes overall as a team, but he was 50%.
That was the story of this game. The 3-point difference. The Wolves were 15 of 51 in this game.
It felt like they just didn't attack. I felt like they were trying to attack a little more in the third quarter, but then they just stopped when Chet was just a monster. He was affecting everyone's shot down there, and then they just, kept passing it out, and they had, decent looks at the three. They just weren't falling,
Well, and that's why people were texting me like, how we feeling when we were up like 10 in the fourth quarter, and it's like they're shooting so many threes, and it's how we talked about the last time these two teams played. The Wolves came back from 20 plus down in the fourth quarter because they kept bombing threes and they got hot. And so if they're going to shoot that much, obviously it shoots you into a hole, but it like in the NBA and how it's played today, it can shoot you right back out. And so it was like, you kind of have to there's going to be a game that you have to anticipate. And it might be more than one. I don't think they'll shoot this bad the whole series. They haven't shot great in the postseason. They were 35% as a team coming in. But you have to anticipate, especially if you go back to Minnesota, it could happen on Thursday night in game 2. They're going to have a game where they shoot 50% on, they hit 20 plus threes. And you just have to be ready for it. That's reality. That's why it's a 7-game series and not, March Madness where it's one team gets hot and wins the whole dang thing.
Or we'd be out of it.
Yeah. I think, and I'm kind of mad at ourselves for not talking about this sooner. We kind of hinted at it. The game switched when Kenrich Williams played in the third quarter, and he brought a grit and an energy, because the Wolves, for a team that shoots so many threes, they really try to play bully ball. Yeah, they really try to get into you with physicality, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, they're back-to-back Western Conference finalists. But Kenrich matched that, and it was so Kaysen was the first guy off the bench whenever we went to single big, which makes sense. Kaysen was phenomenal tonight.
I think Kaysen's guarding Ant Edwards better than Dort is, but I think they run Dort off so many screens that it's impossible for him to stick with him.
Well, Kaysen's playmaking on the other end when he's in is way more noticeable and more loud than Dort, which I think contributes to the feeling of Kaysen's really impacting the game. Because if Dort's not hitting his threes, what's he doing? I was
talking more specifically on the defensive side. I think he is really able to stick with him and stay in front of him. But that's partly because they run Dort off so many screens. Dort just has to run around Rudy Gobert who never got called for a offensive foul for some of those screens he set.
He will eventually.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but
Kenny Hustle.
Well, and before Kaysen playmaking night, he had 7 assists. He only scored 3 points, but 7 assists, moved the ball well, had a couple lobs. His lob to Dub in the fourth quarter just brought the house down. It was insane. But going back to K-Rich, this guy who is the oldest guy on the team, him and Caruso are the same age. They're the 2 oldest guys on the team. He played in the Memphis series just because there were blowouts. And whenever we played Denver, it was like, where is he? Like he's valuable. Mark loves him. The team loves him. He's the old head in the locker room that's the veteran presence, and all he's ever done is play for New Orleans and Oklahoma City. But he's that guy.
Or Chet said that after he missed the 2 free throws in game 1 versus Denver, Kenrich came over to his house and was like, "Hey man," kind of gave him that old head speech, like, "We got this. You're
going to be in that situation again, and you got to want that."
Right.
So for him to come off the bench cold, basically, in terms of playing meaningful minutes, because he played in the Denver series, but it was always in mop-up. It was always during the blowouts. And he was the second one in, and everyone was like, "Mark, you SOB, man. You SOB." Like, it just was the most Mark thing ever that Kenrich Williams was your 7th man in this game. And it makes
he played so well.
Well, it makes so much sense because, like I said, with Wolves playing bully ball, he matches that perfectly. Like, we have a lot of players that are tough and physical, but they don't have that that fear factor.
They got some shit to them.
Yeah, and Kenrich is like, he's not going to mess around. And he rebounded in there, even with, sometimes they were deploying 2 7-footers and Julius Randle. Like, and Kenrich was getting rebounds. You could tell in that third quarter, in the stretch in particular, it was like a 62-60 game or something like that. And shot clock running down, he takes a step in and basically hits one of those, like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" If you're a Wolves fan, like, this random role player is hitting the shot. Next possession down, he hits a 3 from the top of the key. And from that, we rolled.
Yeah.
Like, the game, we had to play it out, but that was the point in the game where it was like, oh, this thing's over. Like, if that's going to happen, you can't beat the Thunder if Kenrich Williams is out there scoring 5 points in 30 seconds. And
right.
And then Shea took over from there, honestly. That's when Shea was like the joy of watching Shea not play Denver.
It's just the amount of space that Denver swallowed up with that zone, and Minnesota is playing more man, and they're pushing us out way towards the half court line. It creates a lot more space for Shea to actually go create and go take over games like he had all season. But Denver was like packing it in. You're right. It's just like so refreshing to see Shea play somebody other than Denver.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, there were times, like, especially once we kind of got to that 8 to 10 point lead, it was like, I trust our defense enough to get stops, and I don't trust them to stop Shea. So it was like, I feel pretty dang good about where we are. Because Jaden McDaniels is a great defender. He fouled out tonight.
Long and lanky. He's good. And I expect him to play better, too.
And I thought he played good. Shea was 2 of 13 in the first half. I mean, he was felt. But that second half, Shea kind of went to the locker room and was like, all right, I know how they're going to play me. Got to the rim several times because we couldn't, they had to take Gobert off the court. So there wasn't someone at the rim to contest. And Shea just walked his way to 31 tonight on, like, he was 10 of 27. But when you think that he was 2 of 13 going into the half, his second half was top
8 of
tier,
14 or something.
Yeah, MVP level Shea. And I really hope it gets announced tomorrow because I'm sick and tired of waiting.
You gotta one more time. You gotta say it'll be announced soon, and it'll be announced soon, Ben. They're just playing with your emotions.
It better. But yeah, all in all, great team win. The team played great. That second half was so much fun to watch, and just like, it was nice to have, like, obviously it's high level basketball and it's high pressure basketball. You're in the Western Conference Finals. You're one series away from playing for the whole dang thing. but just just being able to sit and watch basketball. And I think, a couple people texted me this and talking about it with people at the arena. I truly appreciate how good Jokic is after watching tonight's game. Like just a monster, which is not how I thought we'd end this pod, but man,
you're totally right. The fear that he struck in the whole arena every time he touched the ball and would face up or set a big screen for Jamal Murray and Jamal Murray would pass it to him. He truly is amazing.
Yeah.
And
right. He it was crazy that we forced him into so many turnovers, but the Wolves had 17 tonight, and there were times when we were just yeah, we're going to take this. Whereas Jokic, it was we had to grind out possessions and pray that he doesn't get a switch he likes. It was so hard.
They are the Wolves are much more willing to not go through their number one guy. And it felt
Ant didn't feel loud tonight. And he only had 18.
Yeah. And the Nuggets, it was every possession was through Jokic, or he was around the ball, if it wasn't, it was probably a bad possession.
Well, and the thing too, and there was a possession in the fourth quarter, or maybe it was the end of the third, but the Wolves lineup was Shai's cousin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, for those that do not know.
Also, I laugh every time they're guarding each other. I'm just that's gotta be so fun.
They're smirking, and
that's
talking.
And so fun.
I thought it was hilarious he didn't wear Shai's shoes.
He hasn't worn them all playoffs.
I thought he had them last. Really interesting. I know he wore them in the regular season, but
I looked because I thought this might be a matchup we had, and I looked at one time, and he wasn't wearing them.
Oh, interesting. Makes sense, I guess. But they had Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Rudy Gobert, not even Gobert, maybe it was Gobert, but Gobert and Randall was their main offense with DiVincenzo and Jaden Clark. It was just a lineup they threw out there in a closing couple possessions of a third quarter, which, as we've talked about, it's so important to close these quarters well. And I was if Randall's not hitting 5 of 6 from 3, this lineup doesn't scare me at all.
Doesn't make sense. At all. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and they don't Conley's a point guard, but they don't have a true Ant's been doing a fantastic job in table setting and getting guys open, and his assist numbers have been up in the playoffs, but they don't have a true point guard on their team. And I don't know if that's I'd have to watch more Wolves games, and we'll watch as the series unfolds, but it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments they make for game 2, because the Thunder definitely didn't throw the kitchen sink at them tonight, but the Wolves are probably staying back and not giving out their whole hand in game 1. So
yeah, we talked about feeling them not giving, it feeling like a regular season game. You just said they're not probably giving up all they want to do. There was a lot of lineups I thought were super interesting from both teams. They were sort of each team, to make it this deep or to make it this far in the playoffs, you do have to be deep. And Jokic even mentioned that in his press conference. The teams that are still playing are the deeper teams. Maybe not New York, but that's beside the point. But it felt like there was a lot of lineup combinations that were regular season-esque. They, went down to 8 or 9 people, in the first half. It was kind of a fun basketball game to watch and be this is what basketball should be. So that's kind of my final take on the game. Good Thunder win.
It was a fun night in Paycom. Like you said, great win. It's great to go up 1-0. Major key in terms of taking care of business in this series is going and winning game 2, not losing at home. The Wolves are going to be desperate because you don't want to go down 2-0 in a series, even though they are going home. But find a way to go win game 2. Go up 2-0 and then go split in Minnesota at the least.
Yes.
And you're feeling great. It's the most important game because it's the next game. But getting up 2-0 on this team, it goes a long way in getting this team to the next round.
Yes.
And it's trending that way. It feels great tonight. It obviously feels great rolling off of game 7. It's a big game to go get because obviously coming off of a very emotional 7-game series, a lot of people were like, yeah, this is the one Minnesota's going to get because they've been resting and all that stuff. But game 2, you got to go get it. You got to go get it. Championship teams go get that game. And bottom line, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds on Thursday night. Because we're still on that every other night schedule for some freaking reason.
Because
hopefully we find
Cup.
out. Correct. And that's a whole other issue and logistics and all that stuff. But hopefully we find out who the MVP is tomorrow, even though we all already know. But we will be back Thursday night to recap game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Thunder win 114-88 to take a 1-0 lead. And we'll be back Thursday night. Appreciate everybody for listening, and we'll see you then. See you.
Adios.
All night long, party, we like to party, all night long. Party, we like to party, never go home. Party, we like to party, all night long. Party,